we're here with Dean Richards from EA. You're the general manager for the NHL franchise.
Yes.
What does that job title come with?
Well, it comes with a couple of letters, G and M before that. It's really about, if you think about a general manager in hockey, and you would think that Sean Ramjagsingh, who's the line producer, would be like the coach and then the team. So it's kind of set up like that. So I'm pretty much responsible for the development, the team, and really, making sure we got the right people in the right roles and making sure the game gets out on time.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned in the presentation that you worked for EA for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
How did you get started? How did you get into the game industry?
It's a great question. I started, I think, in 1999 at EA, but before that I played hockey for a living in Europe for a while. So I've been playing hockey since I was 5 years old. I got to get paid to play my favorite sport, so that was an honor. And then, just through being at the right place at the right time, got an opportunity to be part of the NHL production team. And kind of once I retired, I got to talk about hockey instead of getting beaten up for it. So that was easier on the body. And as a hockey player, and even for myself, I've been gaming for a long time, and right from NHL '94 to all the way until now, I've been a huge fan. So right from the Sega Genesis, I had Intellivision, had ColecoVision, had Super Nintendo, had all the game systems. So I've been a big fan, and like I said, I just got the right place at the right time.
What was your first job at EA?
I started in quality assurance, actually, and then about 6 months later, I was in production on the NHL team.
Cool.
Learning the ropes from quality assurance is a great way to get into the industry.
What would you say, what are your proudest accomplishments that you're doing with NHL 16? What are you happy with?
I just think that I'm happy with just the effort the team has put together this year, which they always do. They're a super passionate group, but just really also working with our fans more than ever, and just really having that the closer relationship, and just really understanding how people play the game more so than we've ever done in the past. And it's just been a fun ride to build such breadth and depth into our game, and also a bunch of new experiences as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
What's your personal favorite mode to play? What do you like to play?
Personal favorite. I would say there are two things. I think for single player experience, I love Be a Pro. And the whole dynamic and the player progression system is really great.
Closest to what you experienced in your own career.
Yeah, absolutely. And but it's funny, in my career I played as a forward, both left, center, and right. But in this, I like playing goalie with the new goalie controls, and playing on defense as well. But for single player, I love Be a Pro, and then for multiplayer or online, I love playing EA Sports Hockey League. So generally, my routine is I come into work, I get a couple of Be a Pro games in the morning. And then towards the end of the day, jump online with guys at work and play against each other in EA Sports Hockey League. So those are my two favorites.
Sounds like the dream. Did you feel that this development cycle was easier than 15, considering you had a year using the tech and hopefully learned a lot from 15?
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever you do a console transition, and I've been involved in a couple of them, what people have to realize is the previous generation, we had almost 8-9 years on the console cycle, and so every year you're just increasing the breadth and depth of the features. And so when you jump onto a mode, for us it's brand new technology, you have a year to put it out, and we worked really hard, and we wanted to focus on making sure that we had a strong foundation when it came to gameplay and presentation, which we did. And definitely we just continued to build on that foundation, and you can just see the amount of breadth and depth we got in this year. And it's always difficult year on year, because you're always pushing yourself to kind of maximum limits as far as you can push, but definitely once you have the base technology in, it's much easier process to build upon that.
Yeah. Can you enlighten us a little bit on how big the NHL team is? How big is the team that works all year long on the NHL title?
I can't get into specifics, but what I can tell you is I've been with some of those team members for a long time, most of my career, and because it's in Canada, it's similar to how people in Finland feel about hockey. Super passionate group, and look, you know, we are there to make a great game for our fans, but it's also a business as well. So we make sure we have the right team size to build the experiences that we feel can be great for our fans.
All right, moving on to some. These are questions from our community.
Yeah, you bet.
We have a community that is maybe a bit more on the hardcore side. So when we asked them for some questions, we also got a lot of requests. But we tried to pick the actual questions. This
Sure.
time around.
Yeah.
But one question that came up was that is the one-hand move coming to NHL 16, and if not, why?
The one-hand move being what?
The one-hand deke, basically.
There is a one-hand deke. You can definitely. I know for a fact you can do it from the backhand. You let go of the stick and jump around the guy.
Oh yeah.
I know you can do the windmill, which is a similar one-handed deke.
Actually,
are you talking about the one that's
where you
reaching?
tuck it in with the Forsberg move, basically.
The Forsberg move. So part of it is making sure, like the big thing that we did this year is we're getting the right gameplay balance and stuff. And so the positive is we do have moves where you can leave it, because the Forsberg, did he leave it his forehand or backhand?
I can't remember.
He's left-handed. I think he did backhand this way, right? Because he's left-handed. So you can pull it out to your backhand and leave it this way. Yeah. So you have different styles. We have revamped the dekes a little bit, but it's always to maintain the balance so one move isn't so dominant over the other.
Yeah.
But I do totally understand the request, because I don't know if you guys followed the NHL, but did you remember the Tarasenko goal where he scored on Lundqvist, where he split the defenseman in New York, walked in and did that move and do that, and you're seeing a lot more NHL players do that. So again, we're about listening to fans, making sure we have balance, but we're also about making sure it's authentic. So we're always looking at those moves and making sure that there is a balance, but we want to bring back those moves are prevalent, and we'll continue to look at that.
Speaking of looking at the game, how much stats do you get from the game itself when people play it? Like you collect some data.
Absolutely, yeah.
How it's played. I'm not sure if you can go into specifics, but how accurate? Like, can you see the most common ways to score, for example? Can you get that information from that?
Yes, we have a lot of telemetry. What's interesting about those kind of stats is we do a lot of working with the hardcore community, chosen by the community.
Yeah.
And we've been working with them throughout the dev cycle. They've been in a few times. They came in before the beta. We were doing live tuning with them before we actually went out to the beta. Then we got everyone to play the beta and got lots of information.
I saw a good video of that.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we do is we ask them, go and break the game. Try to score the goals when you can. And one of the things that we've added this year too, because of the new goalie controls, is the goalies do have momentum. And so if you're paying attention to them as you're cutting across, you can actually get some goalies cheating. They're trying to look around screens, all that kind of stuff. So that all plays into it. But we do spend a lot of time trying to balance that and making sure that the goals are legit and that there's not always goals. And we actually have a bunch of people specifically geared towards trying to break that.
Yeah. Cool. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the player who plays. If you're going to be a one-sided player just doing one thing, then it's hard to make the game fix that.
Yeah, it is. But in the same kind of vein, we want to make sure that it's balanced and it's fun. And there's two things I would say to that. One is we spent a lot of time with the AI this year, and I would say that the online experience, EA Sports Hockey League, is an all-star hardcore, and that's kind of where we feel the default kind of fun setting, more authentic, is probably the most authentic when it comes to a gameplay experience. and we have a wide range of people that come and play our game. So the pro default, you're going to get bigger hits, you're going to get lots more goals, you're going to score a lot more. So I encourage them to try to play against the AI in All-Star Hardcore or above, because we worked a lot on positioning and facing angles and settling the defense down, and because of the precision skating, you can get into position better, and so you do have to work a lot more to get your goals, but we also want to reward that when you make that really nice play, that it's going to be, people say, hey, you always can score a one-timer. It's like, well,
it's a
if you made that cross-ice pass, it's going to be a really, it's going to be a successful goal in the real NHL. The challenge is those are hard to execute and those are hard to set up. So the ways we try to look at it is balancing it by having strong positioning and better defensive positioning to knock those pucks down. And so that's kind of how we want to combat that.
You mentioned all-star skill level hardcore setting.
Game style.
Is that for versus as well?
Yeah, if you want to do that as well, because it's really around trying to get that balance between if you want to poke check, you have to be a bit more precise. If you're spamming the poke check, let's say, you're going to get a lot more penalties. Checking will have a bigger differential on size. So if someone small is trying to hit Zdeno Chara or someone like that, they're going to bounce off. Where maybe in pro you get a big hit. So it is about balancing that.
But is that the setting that is on the ranked side of versus?
Yes, that is the setting that is ranked.
I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that. There's a question about shot blocking. Has the shot blocking been tweaked so that we're able to block passes and shots without getting a tripping call? I think he's referring to some of the more minor contact that sometimes would result in a penalty, even though you would first block a shot or pass.
Yeah, we would. It all depends. I'd have to see the situation, because even if you block a shot and you slide into somebody, you still have to be responsible for your body, so that could be a penalty. But yeah, we have tuned a lot of the interference and different things like that and the subtleties. And the other thing to take note too is last year we got stumbles, but most of the time when they stumbled, they fell over. So now you got stumbles, you can maintain with the puck.
That's a good
so there's much more variety and range, and so there's less opportunities for those kind of calls to be made. But again, we really worked hard on the positioning and everything. So if you make a great block, we want to reward great defensive play versus getting a penalty. But I do know that if you go flying and sliding out and block and take the guy out, you are going to get called, which is legitimate.
I think in the beta, one of my concerns in 15 or at least 15 was that you could get a penalty for goalie interference way too easily. And based on about 65 games of the beta, I think you fixed that problem mostly. And nowadays you get the video review and no penalty instead. So in 15 you would both be disallowed a goal and get a penalty. Now the penalty is less. So even if if you think the game is wrong, at least you're not penalized as much.
I'm glad you picked up on that, because we have spent a lot of time, and that's part of the balance that we're talking about. I mean, if you incidentally bump the goalie and then it happens to cause a rebound that then you score, it'll be disallowed. You won't get a penalty. You have to legitimately kind of run them over to kind of get that call.
Cool. Will we be able to control the goalie in the shootouts and versus? Because in 15 we weren't able to.
Yeah, you can. I think you can take control of the goalie. I haven't personally tried it. We can try it after this for sure.
That's true.
Because generally, when you have the shootout, you have them automatically. In versus. So we'll have to check that out. To be honest, I think you can, but let's make sure.
It's one of my.
I tend to not try to get into shootouts.
Yeah, me too. But when playing,
I like playing continuous OT.
Yeah, me too. That's my favorite. But one of the things, if you're playing on the same couch and you happen to go into a shootout, one team would be playing up and the other one would be shooting the shootouts down. And especially with the computer goalies, it gives sort of an advantage. Because people tend to prefer to play up. All right. Speaking of shootouts, will the shootout mode return in 16?
We're always looking to. It's not currently in there now, and we're always looking to see what we can and bring back. And again, that's part of listening to the fans and making sure we're prioritizing. And we understand that that's something that even in our Ask NHL website. I don't know if you've been there, but that's one of the questions that get asked a lot, and it's something that we'll always listen to and see what we can do to bring that back. But there's no plans currently right now.
Okay, cool. Moving on to Hockey Ultimate Team. Could you outline the major changes in HUT this year?
The big ones is for us is to you get to play a friend, which is coming back, so that's awesome. And the other one is we heard from a lot of people just around they would love to play HUT, but they'd be intimidated from going online. So we've added offline seasons. So it's a great way for you to kind of dip your foot in the water and still manage your team and build up your team and play against the AI, and then work your way into, hey, maybe playing a friend, and then maybe work your way into playing online.
Yeah, cool. Will we see a return of the HUT weekly team build challenges, which was in NHL 13? For example, you had to build a team with at least 4 Edmonton Oilers players and play a random generated playoff bracket in solo HUT. Are there this kind of challenges?
Yeah, I think when you go play offline, there's going to be different things that you have to do, and part of Ultimate Team is being a live service, and we're going to offer many different things, on a weekly basis and stuff. But I think for us, it's really about listening to our fans and getting those kind of things, what they want the most. And part of it, as you mentioned before, is looking at the telemetry in the game itself and seeing how people are. But I think when it comes to the offline piece, there's going to be lots of different ways to experience that.
Very good. Can we see our friends' teams in HUT? So this is not just playing, but actually go and see what kind of players they have on the team.
I think when you get into, I think you'll have the ability to find them and play them, so you'll be able to see them that way.
Yes.
I don't believe, and that's again, we'll have to check that out again. I don't believe you can go in there and check that out, but we can go. We can go look and see.
Is there going to be a mobile app for NHL 16? Any plans?
No, and part of it is ensuring that we have a balance, making sure that it's kind of a fair play. Lots of potential security challenges with that, so we want to make sure that we're giving that kind of fair play first and making sure that's all ready to go before we ever think about bringing back a companion app.
Sounds good. Is there a chance to see a mode such as the FUT Draft from FIFA or Draft Champions from Madden in the NHL-series?
Yeah, there's always that potential, and it's one thing that we're going to pay close attention to see how well that does within FIFA and Madden. And so for us, we got the play a friend back, we got the new offline season, so it's really about monitoring that and see if it does well. If that's something that we want to do, then that's a potential.
Sounds good. All right, moving on to the EASHL. Is there a practice mode or test the ice feature in EASHL?
Yeah, so that would be the drop-in part of it.
Practice mode would just be with your own team, just trying out.
There's no current practice mode in there right now with the EA Sports Hockey.
Yeah, and the test on ice feature, I guess it's just when you edit your player, you can check out your gear on the ice, sort of thing, where you can practice on your own against the goalie.
Not with your created guy.
Okay. Next question. Can you invite another club to play you?
Currently, no, you can't. You have to. It's just basically searching for other people, trying to match up with whatever you have put within the region and various matchmaking things. But no, not right now.
All right, because this would be very convenient for gamers like us who like to create our own leagues and having specific teams match up. And
yeah, it's one of those things that's. We've heard a lot about and something that we're looking into, but currently it's not there at launch.
Yeah, I think people would appreciate it if it was what do you call it? Unranked feature, so you wouldn't actually have to take the stats or anything to the server, but just having the option so that you don't have to drop against other teams.
Yeah, we've heard a lot. We've heard a lot of that request, so it's something that we're definitely considering.
We're very happy to see the new search criteria in the EASHL dressing room. You could choose, for instance, to match your club size or loose match. What a lot of people would like to see is a search option such as 4 players or more. For instance, when you have 4 players yourself, or you have 6 players, you might be like, okay, we can play a team of 4, but we definitely won't play a team of 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
So it would be good to have sort of a middle way option to not just match your own club size, but also have an option to say, let's say 4 or more.
Yeah,
that's something possible.
That's good feedback. I mean, from what we saw from the beta, generally matched up pretty close as best we could.
Yeah.
Depending on who people are playing, but that's great feedback that I'll take back to the team.
I was very happy with how quickly we found out opponents in the beta. So.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Very, very pleased with that. There's been years where we've been sitting in the dressing room for hours, and for one reason or another, it just doesn't match up.
Oh yeah. No, I felt it was pretty quick this year, and when you got region and you got goalies or no goalies, we matched up pretty quickly. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time making sure. I mean, that's the real key, right? Is making sure the matchmaking is good, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you notice that when you get into the dressing room, the first person to jump in his or her place will be the captain, but then when you get to the actual matchup screen, it will be a different person who's the captain.
Yeah, I think that one is something that we're looking at. I think it depends on who gets in there quicker.
Yeah, okay.
For some reason, it's choosing the first person, depending on your connection speeds and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's something we're looking into.
All right. Any chance you could add a fatigue meter for the players, like in FIFA, that would teach players how to getting hit or using hustle impacts the player? And also, does getting hit tire your player out in the EASHL?
No, because you can be on the ice the whole time, so that's why there's no fatigue. Where you can be taught is within be a pro and all that. Obviously, you have your shift lengths and different things, so it's part of the balance that fatigue's a tricky one, right? If you don't get that one right.
Is there no fatigue in the game at the moment, or is it just equal for all players? Because in the past, at least, it felt like the players were getting slower towards the end of the EASHL game.
I mean, I think what we're trying to do when you have the different player classes is there are certain player classes with a touch better speed.
Yeah.
But speed is one of the things that can definitely get the balance out of whack pretty quickly. So we have to monitor that pretty close, or where that is.
Yeah.
When you use hustle, you can't just use hustle all the time.
Exactly.
So that has a different effect of when you can use that and when you use that. So it's more of a making sure you're timing that right to get the maximum benefit from it. But when you think about the overall fatigue piece of it, it's really about when you think about speeds, because we did play with it actually. We did play with some players being really fast and other ones didn't. The feedback was that's one that you want to keep pretty level and have more of the other skills come into play versus that piece. If you want to have an even playing field, like EA Sports Hockey League.
That's true. Moving on to presentation and authenticity.
Yep.
Well, we're getting the mascots this year.
Yes.
We're getting a lot of those details, like you mentioned in your presentation. You have the cannons and the Teslas and all of that stuff.
Yep.
What about player faces? Has there been more likenesses added? Because in the past, I feel like there's been like maybe 5 people that are recognizable per team, and the rest are kind of bland.
Yeah, I mean, we always try to add more as much as we can. We haven't gotten to every single player in the NHL. But I tell you, one of the things that has made people more recognizable is the beards.
That's true.
What was interesting, Ovechkin without the beard, and then putting a beard on him, all of a sudden, instantly, it's the same face, but you put a beard on him and he's instantly recognizable. Same with Crosby and his scraggly playoff beard that he tries to grow every year. And just little details like that have made some of those players look a lot better. But Brent Burns, as soon as you throw the huge beard on him with no teeth, I mean that's him.
He's in his own category.
He's in his own category, but you know what? He was clean shaven before, right? So then that just put him out of his category.
That is true.
So
that is true.
those are the elements that we're always trying to look at and improve. But we haven't gotten to everybody yet.
Will we be able to put our own in-game music in the game? And if not, are there plans to re-implement this own music?
Not currently. You can't do that, and there's no current plans to do that yet.
Is this something to do with how the new consoles are set up, or is it just
a little bit? I think it's just about where we're at as far as prioritizing and different things. We want to make sure we got all the goal horns in there.
That's very
which
good.
Is really cool.
Yeah.
And a large majority of the actual goal songs. So when you score in Chicago, you get Chelsea Dagger and different things like that. So it's just really about bringing the authenticity to the package.
I think that's the biggest reason why people want the feature in the first place, is to add those authentic goal songs. So that will take care of some of those requests. All the major EA Sports titles have GameFace. What's the reason we haven't seen face creation using a photo in the NHL-series since the PC days?
That's a great question. I think, have you used the tool before?
Yes, in FIFA.
And how do you feel about it?
Surprisingly well. It works surprisingly well.
Yeah, in some other games it doesn't work so surprisingly well.
Yeah, I've seen a certain title.
Part of it is depends on where we focus and priority, to be honest. You're wearing a helmet, you're really only seeing this piece of it. And so really in hockey it's about the equipment that really kind of stands out. So that's where we focused our attention, was really giving you a lot more options when it comes to the equipment and the way you can color it and stylize it that way. But we're always going to continue to improve on that and build on that. But it just wasn't really a priority for us in NHL. And we just gave you way more variety of heads this year as well to choose from. But it's really about, you put a visor on that's purple and tinted and kind of separating yourself that way. Still recognizable.
Except everybody seems to have a beard these days. But I think
one of the funniest ones I saw was a guy with a full cage and a huge mustache coming out. That one was made me laugh for some reason. I don't know why, but just seeing a guy with a full cage on made me laugh.
There's a lot of comedy value in that stuff. All right, moving on to online. We are very excited to hear about the couch co-op returning. Very good feature, great sitting with your friend playing online versus nothing better. And the question was, does NHL 16 feature co-op seasons similar to FIFA, where you can play online against your friend and the game keeps track of your battles as well?
Yeah, there is some type of tracking system with the last person you played and kind of a rivalry, a little bit like that.
Have any noticeable changes been done with the servers for NHL 16? In the past years, it has felt like the home team has gotten an advantage, either through noticeable lag or simply the away team having a harder time picking up the puck.
That's a really great question. I mean, we're always constantly looking at our servers. We've done a bunch of tests where you have wireless to wired to matching the region to whatever. There's many different factors. There isn't anything specific that we give a home field advantage. That would be a perception, but as you know, perception is reality. So a lot of the times there's so many different factors playing online, and because it's deterministic, because of physics and all this stuff, you have to be bang on. It is different than the asymmetrical kind of
you have to wait
mentality.
For certain data.
Yeah, so I personally haven't experienced that part of it. So what I can say is there's no special treatment.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same for everybody.
Are you able to enlighten us whether we're playing on fully dedicated servers, or if, for instance, the captain with the best connection or whatever would be as a host?
No, it really comes down to your own. Everyone has the same connection to the servers. It really comes down to your setup. Your own personal setup.
Okay, so the captain connection shouldn't contribute to the other players' connections. Okay.
I've been captain and not captain, and it's been totally fine.
There's a lot of interest to where the servers are located. We know it's Northern Europe, West and East, and Europe, but is there more specific information?
I could tell you where exactly they are, to be honest.
All right.
Well, I mean, you played the beta. How did it feel playing the beta?
It was definitely, I felt it was better than online team play in 15.
Yeah.
I felt the connection was good.
So, I mean, we're constantly trying to push the servers to be the best they can be, and looking for different ways to improve it. So
yeah.
I felt, I mean, the feedback from the beta has been pretty positive around that stuff. So hopefully that encourages your fan base.
It would be cool if we could get some small statistics from the game, like your ping is this or whatever. But of course, that could make people think of problems that weren't there before you had the data.
Yeah, we have to fundamentally understand that shooters are different than sports games.
Yeah.
On how they look, because we've heard a lot of feedback like, oh, this doesn't feel like this because the shooters and everything, and it's just they're different. They're different the way they determine stuff and the different approaches. So, but we have spent a lot of time and it feels a lot better. I know when I played, I didn't have any problem.
Let's see the next one. We've heard a little bit about this, but do you know anything about your plans for GM Connected at the moment?
Right now, we're evaluating all the modes that were in previous generations, but there's no plans to have that for 16. We wanted to make sure that we got a fully featured, looking at the morale system that we have for GM.
Yeah, that's very cool.
This year, which is really cool, and but yeah, we're always listening and trying to think about things, but currently there's no plans.
Steph from Germany sent me an email and asking if there would be any plans to bring any sort of online season mode. He says it doesn't have to be complicated, just a simple one for playing a full season with your online buddies. And he also says that his online league is soon celebrating the 20th year of existence, founded in 1996, and it consists of Austrian, Swiss, and German people. But it's a lot of work to take down the data by yourself, and he was wondering if there's any future plans for that.
It's kind of how we looked at EA Sports Hockey League this year, so really kind of listening to our fans that way and trying to figure out what they wanted. So these are all good suggestions and stuff, and that's kind of how we're going to approach everything moving forward. Just listen, see where people want to go with those kind of things, but for 16, like I said, that's not in the plans right now, but definitely moving forward is something that we can consider and look at, and it's definitely potential.
And for the time being, that's something that we at NHL Gamer are doing. We're developing our leagues. It's not up and running yet, but we'll have it up soon, the first version. That's where we allow people to create their own leagues. And I actually reached out to Steph to get his comments, since he's very experienced in this. What is the most important stuff that he would like to see in those leagues?
Perfect, yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff we like to do. There's a question. I would like to know why there isn't roster sharing. A lot of games have it. So is it a licensing issue, or is there just no way to make it work in the game?
For us, when you think about, we do have licensing partners with NHL and NHLPA, and getting the rosters right, has to get approvals and work through all that stuff. So, and again, it's stuff that we've thought about and kind of discussed, but it does sometimes come down to licensing and making sure that what we have is authentic to the brand and everything. So, again, that's another thing that might be potential in the future, but not something that we're doing right
now. Another question. I would like to know your take on competitive play and the development of it. As you all know, esports is on the uprise, and the NHL-series shouldn't be left behind. Is EA planning on hosting any official tournaments in the various game modes, And what are you doing to get NHL to the next level regarding competitive play?
Well, I can talk to that last question. It's part of the reasons why we went with player classes and making skill the differentiator. As you know, getting competitive play always starts from a great balance of gameplay. Something like League of Legends took a long time to get to that place, to have that balance. So I think, doing it this way for EA Sports Hockey League, it's a great first step. But it's something that we want to make sure we get right. And, we want to wait and see when the masses start playing that mode and then we tune and get it right. But it's definitely something that we're aware of and that we're going to continue to monitor and see where we're going to go. So I think having the player classes in EA Sports Hockey League is a great first step.
It's a good example. Well, regarding the last question and the whole competitive play and making it more interesting for audience, the guy who asked the question, Minokin, and my personal opinion would be also that if you could add a 13th player to an EASHL game who would only act as a spectator, and then you could, for instance, put the broadcast camera on and then that guy would be streaming it, that would make it very, very attractive for an audience, because that's the way you want to watch the game, but it's not the best angle to play the game.
It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the best way to play it. I don't find. I played against somebody yesterday in that camera mode, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's so different."
It evens the playing field, though.
Yeah, it's something that we've thought about, looked at. We've looked at, other places like Twitch and how they do things like that. It's definitely something. Again, we wanted to make sure this is our first kick at the can when you have the new EA Sports Hockey League. So first and foremost, we want to balance that, and then I think those are the things that we're going to look to potentially working on in the future.
He also mentioned that it would be cool to get just more player to be able to log into the game and watch it, but I guess that would then compromise the quality of the gaming if you had a lot of people in the actual game.
Yeah, if we chose to go down that route, we want to make sure that it doesn't ruin anyone's experience, and B, that we do it in such a way that is an enjoyable thing. But definitely it's great feedback and stuff that we're thinking about as that kind of natural step to the future when it comes to esports and competitive gaming, for sure.
Are you able to tell us anything about the web interface we will have with the online portion of NHL 16? Will we, for instance, be able to browse recent games? Will clubs have their own pages? It would be really beneficial for the online community if we could even go as far as pull data out of the game or website. At the moment, we have to type everything in manually.
Yeah, we don't have any plans to do that.
Okay. In the past, you had EASHL club pages. At the moment, they're not there. Are they returning, or?
We're still working through that, and again, we're gonna. I think first and foremost with the EA Sports Hockey League is, and which we found from the beta, is there's so much going into it all at once, and then those are part of the things that we look at as being live services going on and thinking about, where do we prioritize what comes out first.
Yeah.
So it's definitely stuff that's that we know about and look at, and it's really about looking at those things and prioritizing what comes next.
Then we just have a couple random questions left here. It's maybe a little bit early to talk about it, but will we see any game content additions added post-release like we did with NHL 15?
We can't get anything specific, but there will be free content updates, if and when they're available, for sure. Yeah, we're all about making sure that we are a live service, just like every other EA game out there.
Yeah.
So,
Have the new consoles made it easier to update games?
There's still a process you have to go through in first party, and we're kind of limited to that process.
Yeah.
We're definitely not in the process for a lot of the things to do immediately. It's got to go through the testing and certain certifications and all that kind of stuff. But we do have the ability to update, as you saw last year and stuff, the tuner sets and all that kind of stuff. So we'll continue to, when those things are ready to go or when they're available, we'll continue to do those things. But yeah, there are some restrictions, or not restrictions, just time.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with
you don't want to patch it with
Microsoft.
You don't want to break the game with a patch just because you're in a hurry.
Or just the time that those potential things come through.
Developers such as Bethesda are talking about allowing modding on the consoles as well, with games like Fallout. Now, of course, we haven't seen this in action yet, so we don't know how it's going to work in their game. But do you see it as an option in the future to allow user-generated content such as textures in the future in the NHL series?
Yeah, I mean, we're really interested as well to see how that pans out for them and what happens. For sure. I think I could see down the road, if it made sense, potentially that could be something we do, but I think we're going to wait and see how that pans out for them.
Yeah, personally, I made myself and a team of about 10-15 people, we made the Finnish leagues for about 10 years until 10, which didn't come out for PC anymore. It was a great experience making it and playing it, and there's a whole other community around that stuff. And speaking of which, are there any chances of bringing the game back to PC? And also, what are some of the things that you have to consider when deciding to release or not to release on PC?
No plans right now on PC. Just things to consider.
Is piracy a bigger issue on PC?
Definitely a bigger issue, but it's also really understanding all the various specs out there.
That's true.
To look at and do that, always balanced with development costs and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that we talk about, but there's no plans right now in the immediate future. I'm just giving you all the great news.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, these are going to be sort of tough and big requests on the community part. So.
They're not necessarily tough. It's not things that we haven't talked about or thought about. Again, it just really comes down to where we're at, prioritizing, and so we're always open to listen and understand. And some people might feel like they're constantly saying, "Hey, I wish I could have this and that," and like we're not listening. And it's like, if there's any proof to us listening to our fans, you can just look at EA Sports Hockey and really changing that whole process based on the feedback we got. So it's not saying it's not ever going to be there. Continue giving us feedback. We love feedback. It's just, again, there's lots of things to do. So it's just about prioritizing and making sure that we're building the right experiences.
To close off, we've seen a lot of top lists from the EA regarding the player overalls in the past few days. What would you say are the top 5 reasons to upgrade from NHL 15 to NHL 16?
The fact that pretty much every mode that people love to play has something new in it. That we've added a lot more breadth and depth in those game modes. There's a mode for everyone, and there is something new, so I think that's pretty exciting. And the game has taken a big leap when it comes to that balance and fun experience, and just smoother. And you hear a lot of people talk about it's a lot smoother, it's tighter, plays way better positionally, the AI is better. So I just think that the whole package in itself is definitely worth it.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And I hope we get to play a game later if we have time.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Hopefully. Unless I have to catch a plane.
Yeah, that could get in the way.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give us your like and share this with your friends. If you would like to see more videos from us in the future, please subscribe and we'll pop up in your feed. We're currently working on the finishing touches of NHLgamer.com, and we'll be opening up the community site shortly. Please visit NHLgamer.com and sign up for our newsletter today. That way, you'll be the first one to know when we launch new features. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. You can find more information in the description. That's all, NHL gamers. Thanks for watching.